Did we all get booted out? I think so.
I think when Kate left, because she was the host, I think she left and
I was like, wow, I was like, what happened? Whoa.
Oh, gee.
Well, we're back.
Okay, did everyone get kicked out?
Yes.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
have to restart.
Yeah, I went out and
Oh, you went
back
out and came in.
yeah, I went out and came back in.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. Let me reshare. Okay, everyone can see that, right?
Yes.
Okay. So then you can see this. Principle number one for effective community organizing is sales. Now, in a room full of business folk, I don't think this will be lost on any of you. A lot of people hear the word sales and think about someone going door to door selling steak knives, someone trying to rope you into a pyramid scheme. Sales is simply encouraging someone to accept an idea. Now, you may not realize it, but we sell nearly every day of our lives. With your family, you sell when you try to get your kids to listen to you or your parents to accept more freedoms for you. With your friends, you sell when you decide how you all spend your free time together. At the office, sales could be campaigning for a raise, or job promotion, deciding how you all divvy up your workload. We all sell. Without sales, nothing gets done. So as I said, I don't want this to be a passive endeavor. So this is actually going to be your first chance to chime in after introductions. So here's an activity for you to work on. List 2 ways you sell in your professional and social life. I actually give you some time to work on that. 2 ways you sell in your professional and social life. Cool. Anyone want to share? I saw a few in the chat.
Okay, you said professional and personal, correct?
Yeah, I mean, you can roll with either one. It's fine.
Okay, so for my business, I have to make sure I sell the mission of my company by giving them a roadmap, by giving them what we're trying to achieve, giving them the vision. And on my personal, I sell my husband, who's a homebody, on why it's a good idea to get out there and go to an event pre-COVID, or now go for a walk, or let's go hiking up in the mountains. That's it.
That makes sense. Do you ever sell him on like experimenting with food? Remember you said you like to cook?
Yeah. Now that I'm cooking more, he's on board with new food. But we're doing keto, so you know, I'm introducing like vegetable noodles and all that. So he's kind of a little bit leery, but I get him to eat it.
That makes sense. Anyone else?
So recently I've had a few friends trying to sell me to go outside, to go out to like restaurants or go on vacations. I think that's a one way that people sell socially. And then another way that I put in the chat is when people are interviewing for a job or you're hiring someone for a job, you're selling your company or
Mhm.
they're selling themselves.
It's true. Those are both good. Did you just not want to go outside because of the whole COVID thing? Or?
Well, I don't mind going outside, but I don't want to go on vacation because I'm just very mindful about going to other places, especially like islands or Mexico. And then we go to these places and they don't have the infrastructure for it. So I'm just like, that's a bad idea.
That's fair. It's a fair point, Tammy. Any other examples?
I'll go. So in a professional sense, you would sell your success or your accomplishments to gain credibility. And in social settings, you can sell your affiliations with different people or your network to gain social status or to have access to certain exclusive social groups.
It's good stuff, Don. Makes sense. Any other examples?
Okay. This is Brandy. I'm going to stir the pot a little bit.
Stir it up.
Personally, we sell ourselves when we're dating.
This is true.
100%.
I think we'll talk about that at some point, actually.
Yeah.
At some point in the seminar, yeah.
And then professionally, I'll say we probably sell like aspects of ourselves, but more than anything, we sell our time professionally. Because regardless of where you are, whatever time you are spending as far as working goes, whether it's in a job or for yourself, you are saying that you are giving something away that you're never getting back. You're never going to get that time back ever again. Start charging. That's why you should charge more for your time.
It's true. It's priceless. I think a lot of people underestimate that. Sometimes they waste their times on things that are frivolous, or in order to save a few pennies here, they'll do something that just takes out a lot of the free time they may have during the week. And a lot of people don't think about that. It's a good point, Brandy. Anyone else want to share anything? Okay, let's go to the next point. So I'm going to re-share my screen. So now that we discussed some ways and the importance of selling, of course, you can always reach out to me, contact Kene, Erike, and help you out with those. Let's discuss some ways to sell better. Principle number 2 for effective community organizing: make others feel important. Now, when you make others feel important, a few things happen. One, they're more likely to help you in the future. This is called the principle of reciprocity. When you provide value to others, they feel compelled to provide some sort of value to you in return. You're also going to boost your own self-esteem as you learn the satisfaction of a job well done, as well as the fact that it actually feels good to make others feel good about themselves. So what are some of the ways that we can make others feel important? One of the best ways to do it is when you first meet someone. You know how often we're introduced to people and 5 minutes later you forget their name? There's real value in being able to remember a name, maybe the first or second time you hear it, because it's such a rare skill. When people see that you remember their name, they feel important, like they're not just a name or another number to you. If someone you actually took the time, as Brandy just mentioned, to remember their name, people don't forget that. And I'll give you a good exercise for learning how to remember names better. Our brains work best at retaining information when we pair it with information that we're already very familiar with. So in this case of trying to remember a name, what you want to do is come up with some sort of vivid image or strong keyword to attach that person's name to. It'll make it a lot easier to remember a name. And I'll give you an example. I actually have a neighbor named Dion. How I first learned his name was that every time I saw him, I would think about the ex-football player Deion Sanders holding a football in his hand and doing the old primetime dance he used to do after he made an interception. course, with an indelible image like that, I never forgot his name. His name was just etched in my memory after a while. And really, this is a strategy you can use on anything. It could be a name, telephone number, a place. You're much more likely to remember it if you pair it with something you're already very familiar with. Other ways to make people feel important. When you're conversing with them, keep the focus of the conversation on them. Talk about their likes, their dislikes, how you can help them. People like to talk about themselves, and anytime you give them the opportunity to do that, they appreciate that. And when they do open up to you, don't just wait to talk. Actually listen to what's being said, because there's a big difference between waiting to talk and actually listening. A lot of people are guilty of the former. When people see that you're genuinely interested in what they have to say, they're much more likely to help you in return. In the community organizing realm, this might entail solving some sort of economic problem in the community, or showing folks how they can form more tight-knit bonds among each other. So I'll actually give you guys another opportunity to participate. List 2 ways you can make your customers feel more important. 2 specific things you can do in your business and organization. That's a good one. Anyone want to share?
That was hard, and I was thinking, wow, that's very unthoughtful of you. Like I gotta really think about this.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I didn't know if I gave you guys enough time to work on it. Maybe I'll give you some more time, because I like to come up with thoughtful questions to ask people, not softball questions. So
No, but yeah, and that's
Yeah.
good, because it makes you realize that you have no tools, well, I have no tools, but some of the stuff that I came up with was like, if you pay attention to if they happen to mention something that is personal or that they like doing, remember that, and make sure if you have something to share, like for instance, if they go, oh yes, I love to go golfing, that's one of my pastimes. So, send them like information on maybe a tournament, a charity or something. So remember what their likes are. And if you can interact, and that's basically about it.
I was thinking in terms of that, and because I spent so many years building my own call center in the customer support area, and a lot of time with quality assurance and risk management and all of that. And one of the things that I always got from customers, and what I actually get as a customer myself, is for someone to hear my needs, find out what my needs are, and then resolve when there's a one-call resolution. And learning, I just recently took a 10-week course in customer discovery at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. And one of the things that I discovered that has helped and will continue to help is that customer discovery is a continuation of every business, or should be. and always being able to hear your customer's need and then finding one-call resolutions for them. I think for me, that's one important way to make customers feel important, is being able to resolve issues.
Huh. Customer discovery as in the legal sense of discovery, where you have some sort of paper trail on what customers like? Or?
Yeah, sort of data analytics, like going in sort of with one hypothesis that, for example, in my situation, I thought, oh, all women viewed safety the same as it relates to ride sharing, and then finding later that I had to sort of change or invalidate my hypothesis that all women didn't view it the same. And so it helped us to discover who our segment, our customer segment really was. And therefore you can start to meet those needs of your customers when you know who they are.
It's really good. What were some of the ways that they view safety differently?
So for, in particular, say, for example, in the African-American community, a lot of us grew up with stranger danger. So we were taught not to just hop into vehicles with strangers. I found while our customer segment is like 18 to 25, I'm sorry, 18 to 39, and it involves like travelers, college students, socialites. I found that white women in those age brackets, while they took precautions, they weren't as afraid as Black women were to hop into vehicles with strangers. They were sort of some of the larger users, but they just viewed it different. They're not thinking every time I get in a car, somebody's going to abduct me and cut my head off. So yeah, it was really interesting. I tell you, every company should go through customer discovery. It really blew my mind.
Wow.
I had a really similar experience to that and similar response. So Surrender Circle is a health tech company, but ideally we seek to help women improve their mental health and wellness outcomes. Things I assumed, I don't want to say it's foolishly. I think everybody kind of judges their customer by themselves and their own unique beliefs. And so for me, initially, when the concept came about, I'm just like, oh, we're just going to go ahead and get women and everybody's going to sign up and want to go to therapy, only to do more customer research and realize that attitudes around therapy are very different, particularly amongst African-American people versus some of my white friends. And then figuring out like, well, why? Is it because they just don't like therapy, or are there other components to consider, like religion? How does therapy and religion play together? How does that play with the concept of a mobile app? And will people just disclose information willingly? So through that process, we had to kind of go back to the drawing board as well and figure out, well, how do we provide value for customers, who is our customer base as well, and kind of go from there. And so one way we are acknowledging people without the same level of social pressure to go to therapy, we're celebrating milestones. So when people do decide to, whether it's going to a therapist or actually formalize some form of coaching with somebody who might be like a financial coach or a health coach, whatever, something that's going to generally help them improve their lifestyle, that we acknowledge those milestones, as opposed to the platform and the mobile app being so centered around going to a therapist and that being the only marker of success, given that they may have other varying beliefs around what therapy actually is and why it's beneficial.
That's really insightful, Donnie. There's definitely, I think there's sometimes a stigma related to mental health counseling. So anything you can do to actually highlight other achievements they're making that are inside a therapist room would definitely take you in the right direction. So it's creative. I read some good answers from Melissa and Tandy in the chat as well. They can always verbalize them if they want.
I feel like Kim mentioned it pretty much when she was saying the one resolve solution. I believe that was the wording. Sorry if I messed that up, Kim. But I think feedback loops, I noticed that like a lot of companies, when they do have feedback loops, customers appreciate it more. And I feel as though we kind of saw what it looks like when a company doesn't have a feedback loop recently with what happened to Robinhood, because prior to them not listening to their customers, right? There were like so many Reddit forums about like why different, like Betterment, or I think Wealth is another one, like why those platforms are better than Robinhood. And you could like find them, and there was no real feedback loop. And because there wasn't, when those customers had a problem, they immediately went to Twitter. And so that's kind of why you like kind of see like government even thinking about getting involved to try to solve the problem that they think Robinhood has. With the autonomy they feel they have over their customers and kind of like the finance situation. So I think that's a good example of like what happens when you don't listen or care about your customers.
It's true.
You know, that's so interesting that, you know, I thought about gifts. I thought about sending them or taking them out to lunch. I felt though that was like kind of like a no-no in business, or like the other person would think they're like, you're trying to butter them up, or I don't know what.
That's a fair point. It really depends on the nature. If you're talking about an issue, say with you're applying for some sort of government proposal to provide some sort of service. And if you sent the people on the board gifts, that might be a little shady. But I think more business to business, people don't really mind as long as it's not something that would corrupt the process or remove integrity. Like a good gift can always go far. Even if it's just a handwritten note you send to someone, people remember that.
And sometimes it's used as an upgrade from, let's say, a survey, right? So after I did a business chocolate mindfulness retreat, the leader who brought in all of her supervisors, she had mentioned during the retreat that her favorite food was fish tacos. So I invited her some weeks later to go out to that restaurant and get her favorite fish tacos, and we ordered the same thing. And then I talked with her about all of those questions that I would have asked in a survey, but you know, naturally, organically in the conversation over food that we both enjoyed. So that's what I mean when I say getting somebody lunch, because it's also strategic, right? I'm doing something they enjoy, but I'm also getting feedback that I need, and I can also gauge a lot more from her body language and her responses than I could over an email correspondence. And then the birthday pieces, it's not necessarily just, you know, happy birthday in a automated text message, but this morning, for instance, every Friday I do at 7:30, we have this ecosystem building book club for entrepreneurs. And this morning, one of the women in that group put her Zoom background, and at the top it said happy birthday and then the name of one of the participants. And so it's just these special touches that when he got on there, he was like, wow, you know, it just it shows that you're listening and you're actively listening, or that you're really good at stalking Facebook, you know, whatever it is, whatever you get the information, it's what you do with that information to put meaning to it.
That's such a fitting answer. Before COVID, did you all meet in person in this book club?
I didn't participate in the book club before. I personally am not that kind of girl, but once I have the audiobook and I'm able to meet online, I'm all in. Yeah. But I'm a extroverted introvert, so no, I did not.
Huh. I would characterize myself the same way, funny enough, but that makes sense. Anyone have any other input on it?
I was just
about mama wraps. Yeah, continue.
I was gonna say personalizing any offers that you can, depending on what it is that you do. You may, like, even if it's B2B, personalizing a package or just anything like that make people feel like they're getting something special. I think is good.
This is true. It's good you mentioned that too. Anyone else?
I had one. So because my brand is around art and sport, and I know what consumer purchased what piece, if you will, the art, I think a scalable way is to provide artists we have our eye on that match the type of work the person purchased, to be seen as an artist discovery platform as well, and also keep kind of a sense of Round 21 being at the, you know, bleeding edge of culture around the unique point of difference we happen to offer. One of the things I get feedback on is how personal the brand is now, but I know it's not sustainable. So that was one idea that I had.
Why isn't it sustainable?
With growth, you can't, in my opinion, unless it's something that you can unlock with technology. The way that I've been personalizing things has been pretty manual. And so now I'm thinking about ways that are much more curated and seem personal. It's more customization.
Okay.
around and curation.
Okay. That makes sense. That's something to file away, things to work on. Anyone have any other responses? Okay. Let me re-share my screen. And a lot of stuff that you all just mentioned, I actually thought about. I included it in the slides. So some information on making others feel important. Use names in communication. That's a big one. And some of you folks have just mentioned that. It's a really good one, because when you can personalize something, it's much more likely to hit home rather than just, I'm just sending things to people. There's no names in it. Could be for anyone. Any sort of work you do on that is respected by the people who receive it. And birthday greetings, as Melissa mentioned, like, get known as a person who remembers people's birthdays. Doesn't have to be professional either. It could be socially. Like, a lot of people, even their own immediate family members, don't remember their birthdays. Funny enough, two of my friends that have birthdays today, so I actually call them both. One's a teacher. I try to remember their birthdays. And even if you can't, you don't even have to memorize them. Like, you don't have to rely on Facebook. You can just keep a list, a calendar, like whose birthdays on what days. And then you can, like, once a month, you can peruse and say, oh, so-and-so's birthday is in a week. Let me make a note to call this person. And in terms of your businesses, when people reach out to you, you always want to start off with thanking them, even if it's negative, because if you brush them off or you patronize them, you can actually create more of a passionate enemy. You don't need any more enemies. You want people to feel like when they reach out to you, they can be heard and their feedback matters, even if it doesn't necessarily matter because of what they're doing. Things like that you want to keep in mind. You always want to treat people with a certain level of respect. So, principle number 3 for effective community organizing: ask for what you want. Now, you never want to be afraid to ask for what you want. You want to be specific, telling people exactly how they can help you. When you ask with confidence, you'd be surprised how often people want to help. There's an element of psychology that's useful here called anchoring. What that means is that when we make decisions, we tend to rely too heavily on single bits of information when making those decisions instead of using a more holistic decision-making process. Now, anchoring actually comes into handy whenever you're negotiating on things, especially when the value of what you're negotiating is uncertain. And I'll give you an example to make that a little more clear. Say you go to a yard sale, you see a table you want to buy at said yard sale, and you offer $150 for it. Now, maybe the owner of the table wanted to sell it for $500, but the mere mention of your $150 figure is going to impact the size of his counteroffer. He's much more likely to give you a counter close to $150 rather than, say, if you'd started at $400. And what's happening here is you set an anchor from which people tend to negotiate up or down instead of asking a better internal question. Is this even a reasonable figure to start with? And a lot of times they're not going to ask that question internally if there's not a lot of information to go by to assign value to this item. That's why the old adage of never make the first offer isn't true. There are actually times when you want to make the first offer because you can set the status of the negotiation from the get-go. It's valuable. I'll actually give you a personal story to illustrate this point further. In college, I went to Subway with some friends to get some food. After we finished eating, I go to the cashier, I see selling some M&M cookies. So I say to the guy, let me get one of those M&M cookies too. And he starts reaching for the cookie closest to him. And I stop him and say, no, I want that cookie. And I pointed to the cookie in the bin that had the most M&Ms in it. And he gives it to me. And I remember some of my friends thought it was so odd that I asked for a specific cookie. And I'm like, why is it odd that I'm asking for a specific cookie? I'm paying for the cookie, right? So I don't get exactly the cookie that I want to get. That's the sort of thinking you have in all things. You never want to be afraid to ask for what you want. You're going to be a lot happier that way. So I'll give you ladies an opportunity to tackle another activity. So you want a meeting with a potential investor. Write an enticing email subject line to get that job done. What would you say to get that done? Yeah, I like macadamia cookies as well.
All I can think of in my head right now is when people say opportunity of a lifetime. And I'm like, I don't think that's a good way.
Uh,
Yeah, I've heard it. I've heard it
hashtag spam folder delete.
It sounds like we're talking about like a cold call email.
Yeah, I didn't want to put too many details in it. Yeah, I think you should go with assume it's a cold call, someone you don't know.
Here's a new way to make more money.
While I'm doing my due diligence with finding investors, I find out what they like, what they invest in, and I list something that would draw them in. I learned that from news media. I don't know if it works, but I learned it from a PR person. So you talk about something that's going to grab their attention, and then you can sort of follow on with there. So if they like to play golf, hated golf tournament is, or would you like to play? I don't know. I'm just assuming that would be a good move.
That's exactly how I'd go about it. I was actually going to mention that when we continued on. Like, you want to find out as much as you can about these people before you write that. But I'll continue to give you time to work on a specific. Like, let's get a specific sentence on what you would say.
How about I would write, it's been missing for too long.
What kind of response would you get from that? Like, they wonder, like, what does this mean?
Exactly. Well, that's what I'm thinking. So if I get an email that says it's been missing for too long, I'm like, oh, and so I'll click. And then when they click relatability, where, and then I go into what I would want to say. I don't know. I'm just that's what I would do.
Or something in FOMO. Hey, okay. You're missing out on this, or have you heard of this? I don't know. Interesting.
I remember that's a clever one.
Because if I say it's been missing for too long, I'm going to give them the answer to what's been missing that they need.
That's true. I like where your head's at on that. You definitely want to do something that's going to attract their attention.
I would say, here's what a 5-year P&L looks like. Because I'm often heard, let's see what your 5-year P&L looks like. So I would, have something, here's with some, with some stars or the BAM, here's what here's what our 5-year P&L looks like.
That could work.
But I always defer back to the sports. Like you said, find out as much as you can about them. I think that's key. That's number one. And it's, for the win, everyone wants to win. So my thoughts.
I really like Shelly's thought.
That makes sense, Shelly.
I was going to say, because normally people like be the first, or be the first to hear, to invest in this company that's disrupting the, fintech space, because the lady we talked about today was in fintech. So maybe that's like be the first because people like to win. I don't know.
Oh, that's a good one. I like Kim's suggestion in the comments as well.
The other one that I had, if I already have a warm intro or somebody in their network told me to reach out, then I will include that person, obviously, if I have permission, in the person's, or in the subject line, say, hey, such and such told me to reach out to you about, and then the name of the company. So at the very least, if they don't recognize my company name or my name immediately, they make the immediate connection to whoever that connecting piece is, whoever did that open or that warm intro for me.
That's really good. That's good, because especially you can get through the door if they know someone who's introducing to you, rather than just some random person send your email. It's like, who sent me this? I don't know what this is. I have 500 emails from you today. I'm going to read this. Things like that. Those make sense. A lot of good suggestions. Any more? Okay.
There's some in the chat. I like Melissa's.
Yep, I've been reading them.
Investors crave chocolate mindfulness.
That's good. Lots of people like chocolate stuff. Yeah, so let's share screen again. Let's talk some more about that. So a lot of you mentioned some of these names and intros. Those are big. You know someone who knows them, mention that. And of course, if you use their name, that's a big thing. Because if you're much more likely to open an email that has your specific name in it, rather than just something with a title and no link to you. Again, how can you benefit them? Like, do they look to invest in some specific sector? Is there some problem they're looking to solve in the short term and the long term? And emails in general, you want to keep them shorter. You want to give detail without rambling, because someone opens a page and they see an email that's 2,000 words long. They're much less likely to read it and even less likely to actually respond to it. So you want to keep that in mind. And think about the value of individualized messages versus mass messages. You know, around the holiday time, you get a message that says, oh, Merry Christmas, someone sent you that message. And how much effort does it take to, spam your home phone list with just a Merry Christmas statement versus if they sent you a Merry Christmas with your name in it? This actually takes some effort. So this person thought about you, as opposed to just spamming out the message. You always want to keep those in mind. Readability, short paragraphs versus long paragraphs. You get that. It's easier on your eyes, easier to read, easier to respond to. So principle number 4 for effective community organizing. Make it easy for them. By and large, people want to help you. You just have to make it easy for them to do so. You want to reduce the resistance to compliance as much as possible. Fast and easy sells, slow and difficult does not. And I'll give you a good couple of examples on this one. KFC. Back in 2012, KFC actually wanted to expand the amount of scholarship applications to their scholarship program. So they decided to start an online scholarship application process via Twitter. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Twitter, Twitter is an online messaging service that allows people to broadcast short messages over the internet. There's a character limit on the messages you send, so all communication via Twitter has to be brief. So what's the advantage of using Twitter to do a scholarship application process? To understand this, you got to compare it to the traditional way of applying to scholarships. Usually kids have to write a 1 or 2 page essay to companies explaining why they deserve scholarship money. You got to sit down, figure out what you're going to write, edit it up, send it out. It's an arduous process. Very few people look forward to doing that. Now, compare this to applying via Twitter. Remember, there's a character limit on the messages you send. So now kids can apply via Twitter in less than 1 sentence, drastically reducing the amount of work required to apply. And anytime you make something easier to do, there's going to be many more people willing to do it. In this instance of trying to apply to scholarships, by making it easier to apply, there are many more people willing to apply to KFC scholarship program. And by extension, many more people looking at the KFC brand. The KFC Twitter partnership was a huge win for KFC's marketing team. I'll give you an example from the community organizing realm. Say you're a community leader who wants to petition a state senator for a law change. You want to get 1,000 people from your community to write letters on your behalf. Now, what you could do is canvass a neighborhood looking for 1,000 people to write those letters. Problem is, you're asking those folks to do a lot of work. They got to sit down, figure out what they're going to write, figure out who they're going to send it to. Very few people are signing up for that unless they owe you something or something. A much smarter way of accomplishing this goal would to use what's called a form letter. What a form letter is, it's a letter you type up yourself word for word saying exactly what you want to say. All you do is leave a blank space at the top for a name and one at the bottom for a signature. And what you do is you make copies of this letter. You hand it out to folks and say, hey, would you be willing to write a letter on my behalf? All you have to do is sign your name here. What does that take a person? Less than 30 seconds to do? You've drastically reduced the amount of work required to comply with your request. And as a result, you're much more likely to get those 1,000 letters. Really, that's the sort of thinking you want to have in all things. You always want to make it as easy as possible for people to do what you want them to do. So I'll give you ladies another opportunity to participate here. Give 2 specific actions to facilitate solving a customer problem or encourage patronage of your organization. 2 specific things you can do that can solve your customers' issues or encourage people to support you. Give you some time to think about that one. Makes sense. Oh, anyone want to share?
I can go really quick.
Sure.
Something I did with my startup last year was that I would share stories about the users on social media, and it was a good way for them to. I mean, one, it's like showing that we know who they are, and we want to share what they're doing and what they're working on, and that really helped in terms of them resharing that. And so it was a good way to sort of like build some, I think, social proof, but also sharing their story and like putting a face to the folks that use our product and things like that. So that really helped in terms of like patronage and building some of that trust with the user.
No, it's good. I think anytime you can give examples of how your business helps other people, people can now visualize how it might help them. So that's a good strategy, Irma.
Well, for me, since we're a media company and we have an online entertainment site and a talk show, it would be like our page, whether it's on, any social media page. And the other one would be click here, take a short poll on what you would like to see. So it's a short poll and just a link for a poll. Like Instagram does polls and they're really easy to do. You just click and then they take a poll.
That's good. That makes sense. I think, again, any way you can get customers involved is a positive. Saw a few good suggestions in the chat as well. You guys can vocalize them. Saw Tandy's and I saw Melissa's and Donica's.
So we have a podcast, the Chocolate Mindfulness Podcast, where we're inviting on CEOs and CEOs and directors of HR to talk about what they're already doing well. So highlighting customers' strengths and then also offering thought leadership around how to fold in additional self-care practices for your remote workers. And then I also added the lean startup mantra, right? To build, measure, and learn. I find it really important to help solving clients' problems to, come up with a solution and put it out there, and then see how much it's actually benefiting them with their feedback, and then learn from that data, and then reiterate.
That makes sense. That's good. I'm actually going to write down the name of that Chocolate Mindfulness Podcast. That's good.
I'll drop the link in the chat. Absolutely.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, she did. Yeah, I'm reading some of your suggestions here. It's good stuff. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll go. I was just thinking of our startup NetHub, just kind of making it easier for students to find resources in their career path. And so to have a central marketplace for them, I felt like will be an easier way to navigate through some of their curiosities instead of Googling everything or searching, or may not even have the resources. So a central marketplace.
Yeah. Anytime you make it easier for folks to find what they need, they're going to come to you. people like that sort of personal touch too. So like do the hard work for them and that takes you places. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll go next. I am launching my podcast and building a community, focusing on physician mental health. Within the podcast, the title alone, my podcast is named DocUR. It's short for my business, but each guest that I'm going to interview is going to finish the end of that DocUR. So it's kind of like giving them the ability to name the podcast, but also be involved in the content of the podcast, not just by the interview, but also by the title. And then within the community, things like highlighting doctors that are doing research or works specific to mental health or tying back to mental health. And of course, one of the things would be like getting access to gym memberships and hopefully stuff like Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts, whatever one they prefer. So that's, for the community and for those that I'm working with, just getting exposure to a network of physicians is something that, that would be a good way for them to support my cause.
Yeah, that's really good. Because a lot of people struggle with that. They're like, well, I don't know who to talk to, where to go to find a good specialist on anything. Anytime they can have a trusted face or source that links them to something, people appreciate that. And they appreciate the people who appreciate that. So it's good. Anyone else?
I put it in the chat, but I'll just say it. To offer some type of a freebie, or I know freebie sounds really, really cheap, but some service or something that they may not really have access to. So for example, if somebody comes to me and says, hey, Donica, I've got this great retreat and it would be perfect for XYZ and I can't go or something, it could be good to pass that along to my follower base that might not have been invited, may not know about it, in terms of a freebie or some type of a giveaway, in terms of we get likes and then they would have access to whatever that thing is that you would have to participate in.
That makes sense. I mean, people like free stuff. If you give something that's free and valuable, that's a double win. So I'd go with that, Adonica. That makes sense. Beauty influencers on YouTube. Huh. No, that makes sense. Well, I don't really do beauty influencers. We all women, so you might all do it. I don't, but yeah. Anyone else? That's good. Really good suggestions. Let me share my screen. So I'm actually going to mirror a lot of what you said here. Anytime you do the work for them, they appreciate that. You can be a trusted face who provides value. You're always going to win. You just want to make it easy for people to say yes to what you want to do. I think a lot of people struggle with that because they're inclined to put the onus, do the work on other people. When people know that you're the kind of person who can assist and facilitate, it draws people around you. I'll give you an example of one I had in my own business. I manufacture hydroponics, commercial kitchen equipment, and gymnastics equipment, and I import them as one of my businesses. And one of the places I frequently sell them is on eBay. So what I would do is in my listings, I would create frequently asked questions pages, because a lot of people would ask me the same questions over and over again. What I would do is I'd list these answers. And that served two purposes. Besides saving myself time and helping them get answers they're probably looking for, I also use it to qualify customers, because a lot of times not everyone is a suitable customer for your business. And you want to do something that filters out the folks that would have a problem. If you have people that come in and buy and they're not necessarily the best fits, it can create issues with customer service. And now something goes wrong, they blame you for it. Anytime you can avoid some of those problems, it's big. So things like that, that's an example. Frequently asked page. So principle number 5 for effective community organizing: stories over numbers. Now, what this means is that when you're trying to convince people of something, you're better off using a good story or anecdote rather than bombarding them with data. And there's an element in psychology that's useful here called the identifiable victim effect. It states, we are more likely to give assistance and give more of that assistance when met with clearly identifiable victims of a cause, rather than just anonymous data telling us about said victims. Think about some of the charities you see on television, like Feed the Children. They don't just tell you how many homeless kids they're helping. They show you stories and vignettes of impoverished families here and abroad. See these stories, you feel sympathy. You're much more likely to give assistance now and in the future. Again, which one of these two columns is more likely to spur you into action? If I just told you I'm helping 100,000 homeless animals, or if I showed you some of the very animals you'd be helping, like this terrier here named Bob. Stories over numbers. I give you folks another chance to participate in the activity here. Share an anecdote of a compelling quality or value of yours or your organization that supporters can get behind, or how your organization can solve a common problem. So either one or both if you want to tackle them.
Is this kind of like the story you tell when you're giving a pitch, like the story you tell in the beginning?
Yeah, it could be that. It could just be anything. Just something that either exemplifies a good quality of yours personally or business, or some way that you can help customers solve a problem they have, like some way they can use you to do that. Any anecdote related to that?
Thank
Any answers?
I was in the middle of typing, but I was going to say perhaps hosting a workshop or some type of live event, fireside chat, or something that might showcase a woman or a user that has a similar life path story to the people that we have on our membership base, and highlight that person's success and either how we were able to help them facilitate that success, or how our organization can do something similar for whoever is in the audience watching it.
Okay, that's a good. Anytime people can visualize themselves in place of someone who's had success, that's a good thing. It's a good suggestion, Donica. Tandy, you're going to say something?
Yeah, I kind of blanked on it, but I think maybe a good example is basically we're trying to improve health outcomes for people with skin of color. And I think I thought about this, but I don't know, like I have skin issues. So maybe me showing my progress using my product, right? And how like my skin has improved over time might be a good anecdote to share with the consumer base or user base.
Yeah, that's really good, because anytime they see like a real person using the product or service and they're getting value from it, they appreciate that. They don't feel like, oh, this is just some actor who had some arbitrary success with it. And this is something someone actually did something. So that is a good suggestion, Tandy.
Yeah, I agree. Because usually if I'm buying skincare products on Instagram, I will look for it by hashtag for skincare before and afters.
Okay.
And I'll only click through and pay whoever has like a substantial amount of before and afters on their profile, not just a bunch of people that have clear skin. Like that doesn't actually show me that the product works. Just saying. Because Tandy's like, I have skin problems. I'm like, where, girl? Like, your skin looks so beautiful and vibrant. Like, I just wouldn't believe that. But if I were to see before and after pictures either of your journey or other people that use your product, then absolutely I'd be more likely to invest or to spend money.
No, that's really good. I like that.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and second the compliment to Tandy on that skin thing.
You know, I was thinking of like when someone subscribes or buys a product, a percentage of the proceeds goes to a nonprofit or some cause. I feel like is another way to help solve the problem without feeling like they're directly doing it themselves in a way. You know, I feel good about buying something if I know it's going to be towards something else too.
That's true. That's definitely a good way to yeah, I've heard of those guys. You buy one, they give a sneaker away. It's a good suggestion. Yeah.
That's Tom's, right? Tom's shoes.
Yeah. Anytime that you can attach yourself to some sort of altruistic purpose, people appreciate that, especially if it's something valuable. So. Any other comments? That's good. That's good. So let me share my screen again for this part. Again, a lot of you already discussed this, but why should people care about your business or organization? What do they get out of it? Anytime you can find a way to exemplify things they can get, that's a good win. And if you can't compete on price or perceived value, what story can you tell to draw people in? Are you known for customer service? Are you known for creativity and individualism? People appreciate that. So, folks, we've actually come to the end of today. I want to thank you all for being here. You guys give yourselves virtual claps and applause. Here is my information again, how you can contact me. You can shoot me any emails, comments on feedback on part 1, because we're actually slated to meet again on Monday at, I think it's 1:45. We'll cover the second part. We'll go into a few more things. So it's actually been a really enjoyable session. Hopefully you all have been able to get something out of it. Again, please have any questions on anything, reach out to me. I love that. Anyone have any general questions on anything? No, okay, you're on mute, but I can read lips. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Once again, I want to thank you all for being here. Hopefully it's all been enjoyable. I will see you on Monday, 1:45. Oh.
Thank you. Have a good weekend, guys.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that.
Have a good
I think
weekend.
I'm gonna go work out. So
Lucky you.
All
All right, thanks a lot.
Thanks.
I'm here.
See your social links on your website.
Say again.
I don't see your social links on your website.
Oh, okay. Well, Twitter is at KENEERIKE, but I'm not really a big social media person.
Okay.
So you won't, I'm on Facebook too with my real first name, if you remember what that is.
Kene.
As a Japanese version.
KWU, I think is how you spelled it. But
Yeah,
you know.
let me write it in the chat.
So Adonica is a professional stalker, and she will find you.
That is not true.
I'm joking. I'm totally joking.
Yeah, LinkedIn I check like every now and then if I know something's there. But email is always the best way. You can reach out to me. I love hearing from people. So not on Instagram, but
Well, thank you. It was great. I appreciate it.
No problem, Kim. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
Kenny, appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
No problem, Charles. Charles, you didn't respond to my latest email.
I'm sorry. I get like a million emails.
Oh yeah, I wanted your phone number to put in my phone.
Oh, okay. I can tell you my phone number right now.
Okay, let me write down. Let's see. How many sessions in are they in right now?
Oh man. I think 5.
Wow.
Yeah, they're about 5 sessions in.
It's good. So there's multiple ones every week or?
Yeah, so what I did was I broke them up into different modules. So in the first module, I broke them into 3 different ones. It's fundamentals, management, and then growth and scale. So the fundamentals is all about like, what do you need to like like if you're starting from scratch, right? Like, what do you need to build? You want to build a pitch deck. You want to be able to build like, you know, a MVP or something that, you know, whatever, if it's a tech business or not, you know, doing like accounting and just really getting all your IP and trademark stuff together. And then management is from like the cash flow standpoint, like, you know, being able to like manage your cash flow and staying lean while you're still like bootstrapping your business, you know. So a lot of that type of stuff, building financial models. And then from the growth standpoint, it's like I actually have this really interesting seminar about like being networking in social circles as a female in male dominated spaces.
Okay.
And what that looks like. So I have somebody to kind of talk about that, and also just, you know, about like how to effectively fundraise, you know, and like understanding your like customer discovery and really understanding your base to be able to grow your business.
Do you teach any of these sessions or?
So I'm teaching the financial modeling one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. Give me your background. Can I sit in on any of these, or is it only for them?
They are only for them, but
I figured. Yeah.
I mean, you like, you know, I mean, you're part of the ecosystem, so sure, man. I wouldn't mind you sitting on one of them.
I appreciate that. Is it, well, I know you might have changed like the schedule, because I remember you sent me a PDF a few weeks ago of like what it was laid out. Do you have like a current layout of like what's gonna happen, or is it still fluid?
For the most part, that schedule is pretty set. There may be, you know, 1 or 2 changes, but for the most part, that schedule is what it is.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah.
So you can check it out and see if there's something you're interested in, and if the schedule does change, I can let you know.
Oh, okay. What's your phone number?
857 212 2314.
Where is that from? 857.
That's actually Boston.
Boston. So you're in Boston at some point, or?
I was born and raised in Boston. So
you know
all
that.
of my family, brother, sister, mother, everybody's there.
Did you have any classes today for your program, or?
Wait, what program?
You're doing the MBA program, you said, right?
Oh, yeah. No, my classes are Monday and Thursday. But and luckily they're all in the evening, so they're not in the daytime.
Okay, that works.
Yeah.
How can I get a copy of the recording?
For this specific one, or?
Yeah, this one.
I'll ask Kate. Kate has that.
Okay.
Yeah, so Kate has all the recordings, so I'll make sure that you can get a link, either get a link or get a copy of it.
Okay, yeah. I'll just shoot her a message about it. Yeah, I appreciate it. How did you enjoy it, Charles?
It was great. I mean, I kind of like was in and out because I had another, my thing was off, but I had another call. But no, I was for at least half of it, I was sitting right here working on some stuff, but I definitely heard, I liked it. I liked when you were like asking them specific questions and then trying to get feedback, and you know, I feel like they were like really kind of engaged in a lot of the feedback. So yeah, no, I mean, it was good.
I appreciate that, Charles. Yeah, I always like to get feedback from folks. I always like to improve on anything.
Yeah. You know, I think that I mean, as they think about like different ways for them to engage, whether they're engaging, you know, an investor or engaging their customer base, like, you know, some of the things that you went over, it was just so it's vital, right? And it just makes sense. At one point, I remember you was asking them, like, you know, I don't know if it was like an email or if it was like a cold, I think it was like either a cold email or a cold call. And it's like,
email.
You know,
yeah.
Cold email. Yeah. And it's kind of like, what do you put on there? Right. To kind of like, you know, see if you can get a response from them. And like, it's interesting to see the different responses that everybody was coming up with. So
this is true.
Yeah. So a lot of stuff is like super vital.
No, I appreciate that. I have to get a reference from you on like your like 3 sentences on what you think. Not now, but eventually. Because I try to keep like any work I do, if there's people around, they give me feedback. I like to keep it to memorialize.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you? So when you get that, where do you put that?
I leave it in like I have like a running file of, well, one is like I have compliments people have given me. Others are like references of work. So if any time I can be like 3 years down the road, I'm like, hey, I reach out to the person like, do you mind if I use this for something? Someone asks me like what you thought of my work. That's what I use it for. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Because
Yeah.
I know some people like, you know, they like when like folks put little comments on LinkedIn. It's like, oh, I worked with this person and they were great at this is such and such, such and such. You know.
Okay. I actually
I've
thought
never
about
done
that. I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't really look on LinkedIn that much anyways for me.
Yeah.
So it's like, but I would just like to have like the actual, if I have the words myself and I can use it for something else, that's always
Oh,
nice.
okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I don't know if it was like you put it on your website or something. Yeah, no, I don't have that. And on even on LinkedIn, like I think one person has like wrote on there about me, and it was like this guy. Well, no, so I know him. He's a really, really good guy. But literally, it was like a youth program that I participated in when I was in high school, and then and I was able to get like some scholarship money from them. I mean, it wasn't a lot. It was probably like $500, but every little bit counts, right? And so I kind of like I went back and talked with their students at one point, but this was like maybe a year or 2 years out of school, and then they're the one, with the guy that runs that program. He made a comment on my like LinkedIn one day, and I was like, all right, cool.
Oh, that's nice.
But again, this was like over 10 years ago.
That works. How old are you?
Me, 40.
Oh, all Black people look young, so that's that works.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
And your family is from something English or Jamaican?
No.
You mentioned briefly about how the sir came to be.
Oh no, my dad gave me the name. That's it. My dad's name is Charles Richard, and he wanted me to have his name, but he just wanted to add a little extra on it. So that's how I got it. Yeah.
That's
so
nice.
I'm Sir Charles Richard.
Sir Charles Richard Hill. And you guys are all American?
Yeah, Black American.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yep.
Always like to learn.
Yeah, man. Yeah, both sides of my family are both from Boston. So my dad and his mom and his grandmother, they're all from Boston, and so is my mother's parents as well. But I think my mother's grandmother is from like Nova Scotia. So,
okay.
Whatever that means. I don't really know too much, background, but that's all as much as I know. Because she was also adopted too. So.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah, my mom's grandmother was adopted.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Are there other upcoming projects you have for Playbook as well?
Upcoming projects?
Yeah.
So we have an event coming up in May. And the event is we're doing a golf tournament event with athletes. And it's going to be centered around cannabis. So my business partner, that's like his world, and he literally like he came one day and was like, yo, dude, we're doing an event. And I was like, an event on what? Like, what are you talking about? He's like, oh, I got these he's like, I got these ex MLB guys, and they want to host an event. I basically pitched the whole thing to them. They were, they accepted it, and now, you know, they're on board and I got other group that's on board. And I was like, all right, I was like, so just like how this accelerator is actually kind of like my project. So my two business partners, they don't really have any hand in the accelerator at all. This event is more his project.
Oh wow. How did you all meet each other? You went to school together?
No, actually I met my business partner, Andrew, here in LA. I've only been in LA for 3 years. I met him 2 years ago through another, you know, colleague, like somebody that I've worked with in the business. Made an introduction to us. We had several conversations, and he really liked what I was doing. He brought a very kind of unique perspective. We worked together on projects for like maybe over a year before I even brought him on.
Yeah.
He's actually in San Francisco. He doesn't live in LA. And actually, I think as we speak, within the last like month or so, he's actually moving to Texas. You know, but he has expertise. He's Chinese American, and he has a lot of connections in China, even though he grew up in Chicago. But he does a lot of like cross-border like supply chain, like global supply chain management, and like dealing with like manufacturers in China. And then he also has a lot of expertise in like blockchain and crypto, stuff like that. And then the last like year and a half, apparently he's been like super into like cannabis. So we just got a couple of our clients invested in some cannabis projects. Hence the cannabis event. But and my other business partner, Kate, I met her here as well.
Product?
Probably a little around the same time, maybe 6 months before Andrew. And she's an attorney at Holland and Knight. She's a partner at Holland and Knight.
Okay.
And she also runs a sports agency.
Oh wow.
So she has a number of different clients. She's certified in MLB, NBA, and an NFL. So which kind of funnels the projects for Playbook. I mean, well, not projects, but it funnels clients, I should say.
Huh. That's good. Good partnerships.
Yeah. So she loved what we were doing. And basically she was like, we have like the contracts and everything and endorsement side, but we don't have like the alternative side, right? Like, and I think that that's been an issue in sports for a long time where, you know, athletes usually have like agents that deal with like, you know, all their contracts and they deal with their endorsements. But what if they're interested in investing in like, you know, startups or investing in real estate or investing in other stuff that's not, you know, related to like an endorsement, you know? So so that's where we come in.
This makes sense. It's good partners. God's hand in all of that, putting you all together. So
yeah.
It's good. Yeah, I saved your number. Well, I asked you to write a reference at some point, and I always like to keep contact info besides emails. So
yeah, of course, no problem, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. How was the rest of your weekend looking?
You know, it's really funny because the rest of my weekend was mainly just gonna be like homework here, and then maybe like, you know, catch up with some friends, probably like Saturday evening, and that was it. Well, actually, during your session, one of my cousins like texted me and was like, "Hey, cuz me and so are coming in town. Can we stay at your place?" Like, and I'm like, "Okay, when are you guys coming?" They're like, "Tomorrow."
Surprise.
And I was just like, "Okay, it won't be just studying here. Like, I'm gonna have to be like hosting at this point too. So we'll see. I don't know."
Wow, fascinating. Do you have any family? Like, are you married or anything? Or?
No, no, I'm not married. I was engaged some years ago. I was with somebody for like 5 years, but it didn't work, and that's when I was in New York. So and then at some point I had moved out of New York, and I moved to Miami, and I was in Miami for 2 years, and now I've been in LA for 5. So, but no, not married, no kids yet.
Okay, that's my next frontier. So I
Yeah,
gotta
oh,
work on
you're married?
No. I'm working on that though. I will have to
Oh.
meet the right person first. So.
Are you engaged or almost?
No, not even. I'm at like step 0.01, figuring out the right person. So I'm actually working on a book that's going to be covering that, oddly enough. Yeah, on how people find spouses that feel like they're made just for them. So that's like,
Oh, really?
yeah, I'm patient 0 for that process. So.
All right. Hey, I hear you, man. It's not easy, you know. I thought I found my forever, and actually I feel like I did, but you know, I kind of messed that one up. So, and now it's been about starting over. So, and it's actually interesting because I've had several conversations recently about you know, like the fact that now I'm in business school and I just started, people are asking like, well, are you going to be waiting until you're done business school to act? To, you know, and I was just like, well, shit, that's going to put me at 42. Like, I don't want to put myself on hold, you know? So I don't know. So we'll see. I think I'm trying to keep myself open, you know, to whatever happens instead of like, you know, trying to like close myself off. However, I do think that at some point I'm going to have to start taking some projects off of my plate because I can't, you know, run playbook, run an accelerator, whatever other projects I got on the side, business school, you know, and like effectively date. I'll say that.
This is true.
I can probably date, but I don't know how effectively date.
Ha ha ha. You know, we call them at 3:01 and 3:50. That's the only time you got time to call them. It's funny.
Right. How's it for you? I mean, how old are you?
How old do you think I
am? Well, I normally say my same age, but I don't want to age other people now. So I'll say 35.
That's good. I'm 34. So
okay.
Mid-30s, yeah. I turned 35 in 2 months, May.
Oh, so I was basically right on there.
Yeah,
I'm on point.
That's pretty good. Yeah, no, I continue to have people. What I did, what was it, like 3 years ago, maybe 3 or 4? I mentioned it to family and friends. Like, I'm looking to meet certain types of people. Ideally, other Nigerians. That's where I'm from. So it's like, so I tell them like only really 3 criteria. Ideally, they're Nigerian, but I'm not set on that. If I get certain inklings from the Holy Spirit on like a different person that's not Nigerian, I can go with that. They can't be taller than me, so they've got to be 5'7" or shorter. I can't do that. College educated, and that was, what was there anything else? That was basically it. Those are the only 3 requirements. Like,
where are you?
I'm in New York, Long Island.
Okay, New York. Gotcha. Yeah, man, I spent 15 years in New York. And I love it. I bought a place in New York. I still have it. I rent it out. My dad and his wife, they live in a building right next door to where my condo is.
Okay. It's in Harlem, you said, right?
Yeah, in Harlem. And I mean, I love New York. I do miss it. I'll probably come in the summertime. I told my dad I might come and stay for the summer. So we'll see. I don't know. But the reason I asked is because I know somebody here, a woman, she's amazing, and she's Nigerian, a friend of mine that I literally hang out with like every week.
Tell me about
it. She is, she's from out here. She's from like, where is she from? It's kind of like a Pomona area. I don't know if you know California very well.
Not very well, but I've heard of Pomona. Yeah.
Yeah. So she like basically kind of like out in the suburbs, right? And her dad, so she grew up here. Her dad and mom and them, they grew up in Nigeria. And you know, they go back. They said that she says they go back fairly often, especially when she was younger.
Okay.
But she grew up here, you know, went to really good schools, went to USC, and she does like paralegal work. And
Okay.
she's been doing paralegal work for a while. She used to be like I think like a modeling agent or something beforehand, before paralegal work. But she's super into fitness. So she like works out often, like a lot. Literally like almost every day.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she's like super into fitness. So she's like very fit. And she's super cool. She reads a lot. She's in a book club. So she's, you know, very intelligent. So I feel like she's hit all your
How tall is she?
Oh, how tall is she? I don't know. She's shorter than me. So I think she's like around 5'5" or 5'6". I'm 5'8".
Oh, I thought you were taller than that. You look tall.
No. I'm 5'8". So she's shorter than me. So she got to be like 5'5", 5'6", something like that.
How do you two meet each other?
Through one of my other buddies. So one of my buddies that actually used to live in New York with, his name's DeMarco Morgan. He's a anchor on CBS News in the morning.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's been with CBS, NBC, like all over major networks, New York, Miami, Atlanta. So, and he's like, you know, prime time here. And he moved here probably maybe like even 6 months after I moved here. But you know, through like, I guess, connections and friends, you know, he's one of those like people where like he likes to be a connector, right? So he's like, yo, we're all meeting up at UCLA to work out. So, and I think like 10 people showed up, and like most people don't even know each other. So everybody's like meeting each other, you know? So, I met her and, you know, most of the other folks. And I think maybe between her and like 3 other people, you know, we all been kind of like staying really close contact with each other, like during the pandemic. So we tried to make sure that we didn't see a lot of other people. Like, so this is our core little crew.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. How old is she?
She is 36. 36.
It's a good age. Yeah, I definitely want to learn more about this lady. So.
Hey, all right.
Yeah, if you tell me your
I'll let you know. Her name is Olawakimi.
Oh, she's Yoruba.
Yeah. And please don't ask me to pronounce her last name.
Too much work. That's funny.
You know. But yeah, nah, so but yeah, she's good people's.
Yeah, I'll have to think about that. You give me your name, I'll do some clandestine searching. And Olawakimi, Erike, and send. Oh, my data's going out. Yeah, I'm gonna write that down. I appreciate that, Charles. Yeah,
no problem.
Any folks that come to mind? What's her last name?
Mine?
Her last name?
I just told you, dude.
Oh, yeah, you said didn't know how to pronounce it.
Let me see. Hold on.
Yeah.
So it's I can spell it.
Yeah, do that.
And maybe you can tell me how to pronounce it. It's Oyemade.
Oyemade.
Oyemade?
Yeah. You should ask her if that's how she pronounces it. That's how I would pronounce it. Oyemade. Got a lot of O's there. Save that. Yeah, appreciate that, Charles. That's how people meet people.
Yeah.
Warm connections. So
Exactly. Yeah. Dude, I'm like kind of, you know, softly dating this one woman, but she's in Sacramento. So
Which part of? Oh, you said LA.
yeah, I'm in
Is that
LA.
like 3 hours away?
I mean, if you talk about driving, it's more like 6, 7.
Ooh.
But a flight is like 45 minutes. So it's not bad. I've been once so far, and she's been down here. So, we'll see. I don't know.
Oh, how did you meet each other?
That's kind of a long story, but I'll keep it super short. I actually met her I want to say maybe 7 years ago in New York.
Okay.
She lived in Philly and I lived in New York, and we were both in the same book club. And she would drive up because the book club only met once a month. So she would drive. I guess it was like her best friend that was like hosting the book club. So she would drive up for the book club every month.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I met her then, and I think after but from from 2014, I haven't seen her since. But because of COVID, the book club went virtual.
Okay.
But I haven't been a part of the book club since like 2015. But the book club went virtual, and so I popped on sometime last year, and she was on there, and I was like, oh my god, that's that woman. So we reconnected from the book club. Later. Yeah.
That's good. That's a really good origin story. I like that.
Yep.
It works. I'm saving information here, Charles. I have to shoot you a text message with my phone number in it. I appreciate the call. It's really good. I always like to learn more about it because I want to stay on and continue to learn more about Charles. So.
Yeah, no problem, man. And again, thank you so much for doing this. Appreciate it.
No problem. I'm a fan of the mission. I know, like, anytime you can sow seeds into things that matter to you, comes back hundredfold. So.
Yep, absolutely. All right, we'll do it. I gotta jump, but it was great. So stay in contact, all right, man?
Yeah, that's why I'm gonna shoot you a message right now. So.
Cool.
All right, man. Be well.
Bye.